Our guest today is the Comptroller for the City of Chicago. There we go. Your wife is here. She is. Why don't you stand up so we can at least acknowledge, and then when she gets a double hit. Where is Amer's wife? There we go. Thank you so much for being here today. Wow. Now, Amer, the least we could do is, there's 2 seats right here. If you want to come, oh, you'd rather stay there? My wife would say the same thing. Our guest today is the Comptroller for the City of Chicago. There we go. Prior to being appointed by Mayor Emanuel, he was Deputy State Treasurer and Chief Financial Officer for the state of Ohio. Our guest today received his MBA from Harvard Business School. He also received his bachelor's degree in political science from Columbia University. Our guest today is part of Mayor Emanuel's financial team, whose goals include reducing the city's deficit. Ladies and gentlemen, the Comptroller for the City of Chicago, Amer Ahmad. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see so many old and new friends in the audience, and thank you, Jay, for the kind introduction. It's an honor to be invited to speak here before the City Club, and I appreciate all of you taking the time out of your day to join us here. The City Club has had some great speakers, and I'm proud to be on a list of such distinguished public servants. Although as City Comptroller, my day-to-day is much different than Superintendent McCarthy's or CEO Brizard's. Certainly not as flashy, but definitely important in this economic environment nonetheless. I'd like to begin by telling you a little bit more about myself. As you know, I joined Mayor Rahm Emanuel's administration last year as the City Comptroller and Director of Revenue. I was both honored and humbled at the opportunity to serve with the mayor and all the people of this great city. Although I'm an Ohio native, like Crystal, my love for Chicago began in 2001 when I moved here fresh out of Harvard Business School to work for William Blair and Company. During my time here, I reached some very important milestones in my life. I met and married my beautiful wife, Summer, who is here today with some of her colleagues from the University of Chicago. And she gave birth here in Chicago to our greatest blessings, our daughters, Safa and Maria. And we have a third one coming up in 75 days. Leaving the city in 2008 was a difficult decision to go back to Ohio, so moving my family back to Chicago last May felt like bringing us home. 3 years ago, just before the economic crisis began, I left the corporate investment banking world to become a public servant as Ohio's Deputy Treasurer and Chief Financial Officer. In this role, I oversaw a $9 billion debt portfolio, $20 billion in investment accounts, over $150 billion in pension custody, and $17 billion in annual collections of fees, fines, taxes, and penalties. Immediately prior, for over a decade, I successfully transacted more than 100 mergers, acquisitions, and initial public offerings at William Blair and Wasserstein Perella. When the mayor asked me to join his team, I was eager to use this combination of experiences to serve the people of Chicago. When we took office in May, the administration talked a lot about efficiency, accountability, transparency, and living within our means. 8 months and a unanimously passed budget later, I'm proud to be a part of a team that has lived up to those promises. Just to digress for a second, lots of people ask, how has the first 8 months been? And it's only been 8 months. And I sort of chuckle. The pace of this position, as you can imagine, has been unbelievable. At first, I thought it was going to be like this for the first 100 days, but then 100 days came and went, and I was still working day and night. And then I thought, okay, things will let up after we pass the first budget. But then the next day, the mayor called a meeting for 7:30 a.m. entitled Budget Implementation. And now I've come to realize that this is just how it's going to be, which is good, of course. It's good for the citizens of Chicago. Although I do joke with my wife that I'm the only 37-year-old who's working like he's a first-year investment banking analyst 15 years later. To help achieve the mayor's goal of simplifying, centralizing, and coordinating city services, my first act as comptroller was to begin the consolidation process for the departments of finance and the Department of Revenue. We were committed to making this a thoughtful process that not only reduced duplicative functions, but also supported and increased the overall productivity of both departments. Through this consolidation, we have stayed true to 4 goals: cut costs, maximize revenue, increase efficiency, and enhance transparency. We began the process with an in-depth assessment of both departments, meeting with all senior managers and reviewing the respective programs, budgets, and staffing levels. Employees in each department met several times to identify roles, responsibilities, and the transferring of duties to ensure that nothing was overlooked. Our consolidations in key areas made overall operations far more efficient. The result is a new combined department with a lean organizational structure, fewer senior and middle management positions, and fewer divisions, while providing increased levels of customer service. We also redefined our purpose. The new mission of our combined department is to collect revenue and to provide efficient and effective management of city resources. It's our responsibility to safeguard the city's financial position by maximizing revenues, monitoring expenditures, managing benefits and risk exposure, overseeing the debt portfolio, and reporting and issuing audited financial information. I'm proud to serve at the helm of a new full-service financial agency, which is able to collect and report all revenue information from taxes to parking tickets, as well as manage and track all city expenditures for the first time. Through this reorganization, we have already accomplished several goals that I'd like to share with you. First, we are making the city a better partner by expediting our payments to vendors. In 2011, the city centralized invoice entry and payment processing at the Department of Finance. For all eligible contracts, invoices are now sent directly to the Comptroller's office for expedited processing, decreasing the time it takes to pay vendors. We have already seen a reduction in the time it takes to process a voucher, as nearly 30% of all vouchers are now processed using this centralized system. We're committed to making Chicago a business-friendly partner, which also means making it easier for organizations to actually do business with the city of Chicago. Last year, it could have taken up to 13 weeks or more to pay a vendor. And while in a different interest rate benefit, in a different interest rate environment, there might be a benefit to slow pay, we're just taking too long operationally for our vendors. Now we're paying vendors within 30 days. When a small business is dependent upon steady cash flow to pay employees and keep their lights on, this kind of payment turnaround is essential. In 2012, we expect to see continued improvement in the time it takes to pay vendors. Not only will we continue to centralize paper invoices at my office, we're also planning to move vendors from traditional, more expensive check payment to faster, more cost-efficient methods such as electronic funds transfer and e-payables. Through these efforts, our goal is to continue to centralize payments in one location, as well as reduce the time it takes to pay vendors by an additional 50%. Next, we are rooting out abuses and finding ways to streamline and coordinate city policies. The mayor asked me to conduct 2 special reviews of citywide policies and procedures related to city credit cards and employee reimbursements and mileage and travel policies earlier last year. Our department has led these reform efforts directed by the mayor through the completion of these 2 special audits that have both led to adoption of new citywide policies. In both instances, we found abuse, inconsistencies, and an absence of clear policies. This includes reimbursement for personal expenses, inappropriate travel, and sometimes gross misuse of city dollars. In the private sector, it may be common practice to spend corporate funds for lunches and travel expenses, but in city government, we don't have corporate funds. We have your dollars. Under our new policies, employees will not be reimbursed for any expenses that are not absolutely essential for the function of city business. We are committed to continuing to perform these detailed assessments for the mayor to enhance transparency and accountability of city government. Next, we are focused on keeping the costs of city employee benefits under control. As you all know, the city's cost for employee benefits and their administration has increased in recent years. The city spends nearly $11,000 per year per employee, dependent, and annuitant on health care alone. In an effort to increase efficiency and reduce costs, we're exploring various options for benefits management, including using third-party vendors to help manage, administer, and track our employee benefits. This is an opportune time for a best practices and industry benchmarking review of benefit management operations to determine if it's appropriately staffed and whether we can find a more cost-effective combination of human and system resources to provide high-quality service to our employees and our citizens. Next, we are improving customer service. With the mayor's goal of keeping time in line to a minimum when dealing with city government, we have refocused the revenue services and operations cashiering staff at all payment sites used to pay city bills. We have expanded the number of services to customers at multiple locations throughout the city. And besides increasing and expanding our online payment and processing options, we are also examining various alternatives to use currency exchange locations or banks and supermarkets to be able to pay city bills. We are clearing out debts owed to the city through increased debt collection efforts. It's no fun being the city's debt collector. That's obvious. But this is an area where I see the most opportunity for increased revenue in 2012. We are taking a more aggressive approach in collecting the outstanding debts owed to the city. These debts range from unpaid parking tickets to millions owed by major banks in fees, fines, and penalties. Historically, numerous city departments perform their own separate billing and collection functions, which is duplicative and inefficient and has left us with scofflaws not paying their fair share for city services. Going forward, billing and collection systems are being consolidated, and by streamlining these functions, we hope to achieve higher rates of collection. Additionally, we will improve collections by consolidating debt types for individuals who owe on more than one type of debt, and will help them to establish manageable payment plans. We're also committed to making sure banks and other financial institutions who own foreclosed properties are paying their bills to the city. Our aggressive approach has already generated significant results. In May 2011, when we first got here, these financial institutions owed the city $5.7 million in back fees, fines, and penalties. As of December, we have decreased that amount by $4.5 million to just $1.2 million outstanding, and we will not let up on these efforts. Furthermore, we have changed the way we do business with organizations that owe debts to the city. That means placing holds on licenses and permits for those who have outstanding debts. For example, taxi cabs that have thousands of dollars in unpaid red light tickets will not be issued renewal permits for their medallions to do business until they've reconciled their debts with the city. We're not only holding these financial institutions, businesses, and the people of Chicago accountable for their debts, we're also holding city government employees responsible as well. It's a violation of the municipal code for any employee to owe debt to the city. In November, over 8,200 city and sister agency employees, or over 7.1% of the city workforce, owed nearly $3 million to the city. I'm happy to report that since we implemented aggressive collection efforts, we've reduced that percentage of debtors to 2.3% of city workers. We continue to monitor this issue and notify city departments and sister agencies of debt owed by employees. This is not only a matter of enforcing the law, but an important reminder that every city employee is a steward of taxpayer dollars. I anticipate collecting over $30 million in 2012 by redoubling our efforts on collection, cracking down on enforcement, and consolidating billing processes in the Department of Finance. Next, I'm committed to reform and transparency on the city's pension funds. My ex officio role as a member of each of the Board of Trustees of the city's 4 pension boards has been certainly one of the most challenging aspects of this job. As challenging as it is to see volatile markets and underfunded plans, I've been committed to ensuring that each fund is operating in the most responsible, ethical, and transparent manner. That, as a fiduciary, I'm doing my best to protect the assets of each of the funds. This has meant revisiting and challenging long-established fund practices and procedures, providing a discerning and critical voice in the selection of fund managers, and most importantly, working with other elected and appointed trustees to prudently grant pension and disability benefits. All of this that I've discussed today, effective vendor relations, debt collection, and management of the city's scarce resources, are critical functions in 2012. Especially given the difficult economic environment that our city and nation face. We believe our newly redesigned Department of Finance and Revenue is taking every step possible to protect taxpayers, reform government, and enable our city to invest in the future for all of our residents and businesses. As a public servant, I firmly believe that it's my duty to enforce positive change and improve our city every day. Fundamentally, government is a tool to help and serve our citizens. That premise serves as the foundation for every action we all take. This not only means being a responsible regulator of city finances, but making seemingly difficult changes while thinking creatively to maximize the use of every single tax dollar. All of our goals and accomplishments are a reflection of the mayor's leadership and vision for the city of Chicago, a vision that has been so clearly articulated that the message and achievements of this administration are already making our city a better place in just 8 short months. The budget that just received unprecedented unanimous support from City Council is thematic of the ideas that were set forth from day one and is proof of a new way of doing business. I could not be more proud to serve as a member of this team and work with Mayor Emanuel. Once again, I thank you for your time and interest, and at this point, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have. Through Crystal.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Jay said, I am Crystal Thomas, the Deputy Governor, and I'm honored to be here today with my friend and fellow Ohioan, Amer. I have 2 questions here. If anyone does have any other questions, please raise your hands or get them to the front here, and we can make sure that we get those out as well. So the first question is from John Dorer. I hope I pronounced that correctly. What is the current thought about what the city will do when its retiree health obligation ends in 2013?
As you all know, the city is operating under a settlement agreement that expires June 30th, 2013, and the Korshak settlement agreement. The city, as well as all other constituents, are looking at various options as it relates to what we can do for retirees post-2013. I think one thing that we can say is that June 30th, 2013 is 17 months away. That's a long time, and we have a little bit of work to do to think about what the options might be. But we are studying it. We're working together as a team at the Economic Council, the Mayor's Economic Council, and we'll come up with a set of recommendations that will be presented to the Retiree Health Benefits Commission.
All right, and our second question is from Joyce Saxon. Any way to get out of or improve the unfavorable parking contract? So she's asking a question that many of us, I'm sure, want to know.
Well, the parking situation is one that we inherited. One of the things that we can say is that we are working to make sure that every single dollar that the city does have to pay in obligations to the concessionaire, we're being very careful about. There's not a whole lot we can do to get out of the agreement, but we can make sure that any city resources that are expended going forward are carefully managed, and that no single cent of taxpayer dollars is sent unnecessarily to the concessionaire.
Okay, so the question, just so everyone can hear it, is whether the current vendor that has the parking contract, if there's anything in that contract that allows the current vendor to add parking fees or to establish parking fees in areas that don't have them today. So either in neighborhoods or parking centers or things like that.
The adding and removing of spots. Parking spots to the contract is an annually reconciled area with the parking concessionaire. They do have the ability to add spots, but they do have the ability to take out spots, and so that is an area that we work very closely on, that we're expending resources to carefully manage so that we can limit the impact on everyday Chicagoans.
The question is the city looking at any other assets that they might monetize?
The city of Chicago has been at the forefront of asset monetization over the past decade or so. I think our approach in this last budget and going forward is to find long-term structural reforms to fill the city budget issues. Right now, we're focused on those reforms, finding recurring expense cuts or recurring revenue areas that will help shrink the size of the budget deficit and the hole that we have on an annual basis. Never say never, but right now I think we're focused on long-term recurring revenue streams to manage the city's financial situation.
Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Hold on, Krista.